Hey guys, what is up? You know I am super pumped. You know that you are listening to the Healthy Hustle podcast. And I was blown away by this woman. I asked this woman who you're seeing, and I'm just going to give you a little smidge. I heard her, Jenna Soard, on a summit, and she just killed it, crushed it with information about courses and the biggest mistakes that people are making. And as I see you guys in the health and wellness branding industry or any industry that you are in, number one, know this woman, follow this woman, because I see courses trending big time and I see people making huge mistakes, over delivering. I know I made that mistake. And when Jenna shared that on a summit, I was like shrinking, like, oh my God, that's me. So I knew that I needed to bring her to this podcast where we share the no BS, the no fluff, what it takes, mindset to be an entrepreneur, what it takes to do your courses right, to launch like a pro, and to not feel psychotic and fall into the trap of FOMO. So with that being said, Jenna, welcome. Super pumped for you to be here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. We're talking about one of my favorite things, my favorite subjects, which is, how to create a course that sells, and also just like mindset stuff in general. I'm so excited to share some of the things I've been learning. I've been reading a lot. I've been investing a lot in self-development, leadership, and mindset courses, and I just have so much information to share.
So I always say, because even for me, I'm always like, okay, every entrepreneur, we either turn our pain into our product, or we have an experience where we're like, okay, I created this DIY, this do it yourself, for those of you who don't know what DIY is, or this course. And we focus so much on maybe like the delivery or the plugin or the platform, and we lose sight of the content and like how someone's going to absorb that and what we need them to get. So how did you get to say, you know what, look, I really want to focus on not only branding, because you can't just launch a course that makes no sense to your story.
Right.
But
right.
even bring us back to kind of like, why do you do what you do even in the branding? And then how did you bring in the course and launching as this extra?
It's a really great question, because you just described exactly what was right. I started off with a branding course, and it came because I was a university professor and I was a senior graphic designer at Nike. And I was a freelance designer for a really long time. I actually started doing freelance design way back in high school, spent my whole entire career in college doing graphic design, and having a really hard time even selling my design services until I got my MBA. And the second that I got my MBA, I learned the language of communicating with your ideal client, and that became my competitive advantage. So when I would go and pitch to people about, hey, come get my graphic design services, I would be like, I have an MBA, most designers don't. And this is how you communicate with your ideal client visually. Yep. And this really made a lot of entrepreneurs' ears perk up, because they really generally didn't hear that from designers. Yeah. And I knew that, a couple things came up. One, I got really burnt out working one-on-one with clients, and I knew that I wanted to do something different. And so when I discovered that teaching, because I had my MBA, I could actually teach at the university level, even though my grad degree wasn't in art. I could actually teach graphic design. That my new passion became, how can I teach entrepreneurs how to brand themselves, how to actually create their own design or creatively direct designers so that they could get a brand that would feel like them. And that was kind of like phase one. And it took me a very long time before I launched my first course. Part of it was because of distractions. Part of it was from analysis process. Other things was that the technology hadn't caught up at that point. It was 2012. I was trying to produce courses on things like, we were at the college level, we were using Blackboard. There wasn't the Kajabis or the Zippy courses.
What was back then? I don't even think Rific was there was nothing.
The only thing that existed that came out sort of in that era, and it happened about 2013, was the program that was that WordPress program that was developed by the same guy who, I don't even know, was So Stu McLaren developed it. It was a program that was, what is the name of it? I can't even think of it.
It wasn't MemberPress or Optimize Press, but it was a plugin for WordPress.
Yeah, it was a plugin for WordPress, and I personally found it really difficult to use. And I actually, here I have a multimedia design degree, and I was running into all these problems with WordPress being very counterintuitive, and it's still counterintuitive to what I think. I prefer a standalone system, and I actually started using Squarespace way back in like 2011, before people even knew what Squarespace was. I saw
I love that you are like bringing back, because I'm always like, when I hear, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm just like, I hear entrepreneurs talk and I'm like, guys, you don't get it. Like Canva wasn't around. Squarespace, like Wix, like Weebly, like these things at the stages when many of us were building a business, we were just like, damn, okay, I got to get myself out there. I don't like, and I have to figure out how to make things kind of look pretty, because I'm either hiring a designer. These like easy, intuitive flow, they just didn't exist.
Oh yeah. I mean, I discovered standalone systems that nobody even knew of. There was people out there creating solutions for making web design easy way back in like the, 2008, 2009. And I was putting all my clients on it, and everybody was saying like, why aren't you doing HTML? Why aren't you using Dreamweaver? Like all these like really old school technologies. And I was like, look, I'm a designer. I just want to make things pretty. I don't want to hire a programmer because they're totally unreliable and very expensive. I just want to put something up and be done with it. And so I was using systems, like there was a system called citymax.com, and it would like get you to get a website up in like a day. And I was like, this has to be the solution. Anybody that I'm working with is not going to want to be in the back end. And I don't want to spend all of my time updating these sites and everything. So to make a long story short, I ended up just falling in love with teaching entrepreneurs how to do branding for themselves. And then I developed my very first course in 2013 with the help of, Marie Forleo's B School. I was kind of the rebel that like did things on Squarespace instead of WordPress. And I put my first ever course on Ning. Do you remember Ning?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ning was like, create your own community online. And I was like, I'm going to put a course on this. And people just thought it was so innovative because they could have their own login, and it looked cool, and it was fast, and it wasn't like running off this clunky WordPress thing. So that was kind of my whole thing.
Like, the other part that I say to coaches all the time, or entrepreneurs, is we get sold these systems, and everything does need to be a system, because we can't be. But then all of a sudden we have a team of like 10 people or even 3. And all of a sudden you're like $3,000, $5,000.
Yeah.
$10,000. And it starts to become certifiable.
Yeah. And I just couldn't do any of it. I refused to be reliant on people who could disappear on vacation. I needed to make sure that I understood how to operate everything. Now I could always hire somebody to come in after I could learn the thing. But for me, it was like I didn't want to have a very important part of my business be reliant on somebody that could disappear, because then my whole business would fall apart. So this was my way.
Entrepreneurship. Guys, listen, because I think she just said everything that we all say like on a daily basis. Like, and I cloned, there are 5 of me. Yeah. If you have somebody good, I say to my husband all the time, like, they're not invested in my business. Like, if I say I'm going to get something done, it's getting done. Even if I'm lying down from bed, not feeling great, like I will, and then I'll take a break. But you have to know, I always say this, you have to know every part of the restaurant.
Right. Well, and it doesn't mean that you need to do every part of the restaurant. You just need to understand how it works. Like when I have an assistant now who, when I train her something, she takes it to the next level. She goes to the level that I wouldn't go because I don't have the time or energy for. And that's when you know that you've multiplied yourself, plus you're actually you're getting things done in a better way than you're doing them yourself. But you have to kind of like be responsible for some of these things, and you can't just put everything off on other people until you really start to understand some of these basic fundamentals. So I started teaching design, to entrepreneurs. And I finally launched my first course, and it was called the Launch Your Brand in 45 Days course. And it taught them the fundamentals of graphic design. It taught them how to create their own website in Squarespace. It taught them how to create a brand strategy that spoke to their ideal client. And it was really successful, and I loved it. But then I figured out about 2 years into the company that I was actually having people create websites for products that weren't proven. And that created a massive ethical concern for me, also being that I taught ethics at the university level, that I couldn't in good faith encourage people to create websites and brands for companies that weren't proven. So I had to take a step back and be like, okay, well, what do these people need? They need a product. What's the hot product right now? Courses. And I knew this from spending a lot of time on courses. So I was like, well, I was a university professor. I developed courses for the university. In addition, why don't we reverse the order of we're doing these things and actually start to promote that, no, you don't need a brand. No, you don't need a website to actually get started with a product first. Let's prove your product sellable first.
Before
then
you
can
invest
yes.
all the other,
yes.
Oh, guys, please stop at this moment, and just take this in, because I can't tell you how many people I've seen, and I was talking about this earlier, rebrand. That means totally new copy, totally new everything, new pictures, and I always say, guys, just first test something, beta test it. Ask some friends if they would even like it. If you don't have clients, start investigating. Tell people, hey, I've got this free thing. Hey, everyone comes in, give me feedback. Do that before you built your entire business and your everything around this one thing.
You know what I call it? I call it putting whipped cream on garbage. Which is a terrible thing.
I'm going to steal that, but I am going to literally put, because I hate when people steal things and don't credit. I'm going to be like, Jenna said.
Yes, whipped cream on garbage. So I was like, you know what? I literally cannot sell this program without helping them get. So I actually don't. I mean, to this point in time, I usually sell the course once every year and a half, but I make it really clear, if you're going to come in and brand this, you need to have a proven product. If you don't have a proven product, let's go back to step one. And you're exactly right. How do you create a proven product? People love to get distracted. They love to go get brand photography and hire a copywriter and think all the stuff. They pay $5,000 for a website and $5,000 for copywriting and $5,000 for
$5,000 deep already.
Yeah. And they just keep thinking, if it looks cool, people will come. And it's no, you could actually make something look terrible. Right. And if it's what people want, they're gonna not even care.
It makes me think. I always say this to coaches, because I have, how some guys, I'm not saying all, because that would be so wrong, but some dudes when they're young have their little, bed headboard, and they would make a little notch. So when I started coaching, and I didn't come out and say I'm a business coach. I had a health coaching business where I flopped, I failed, I figured out what I wasn't doing, I wasn't messing, all the things you just, like I said, keep a long story short, all the things, and then I nailed it. And I knew I nailed it, and that took me, and then I organically just was like, I'm not a business coach, let me just teach you what I did, you know, and teach you what not to do. I still to this day say, guys, I did 4 launches on Eventbrite because I couldn't figure out something. They were taking me away from being able to show up, from talking about it, from connecting the dots to seeing what people needed. And I'm like, imagine Eventbrite, lead pages, MailChimp, stop falling into this trap. See if it works. Then really make it your baby.
Yeah. So I exactly with what you're saying, people will often guess on what's going to sell, and they'll create this entire brand off guessing. And so my other quotable thing is, guessing is expensive. It's just very expensive. So you should never guess. So I really want to share with you the process of how to not guess. Okay. There's a series of things that I can tell you guys to do. That is my entire methodology, and you can take it and run with it, because this is exactly what I teach people to do. This is my methodology. I created it myself. At some point it'll be trademarked, But
like, hey, don't trademark this. Don't steal this, guys.
Yeah, don't trademark it. Yeah.
Don't steal this.
But it really works well. And if you do this, it'll work phenomenally in your business. So the first thing is that the only thing that you need to start off with is just an idea of the kind of problem in the world you're trying to solve. That's like step number one. So in your case, you were thinking, I want to help business owners start a profitable business, and I'm just going to teach them what I've learned how to do, right? You kind of started off that way. So that's a really great starting ground. And then also thinking about who it is that you really want to be working with. Like maybe different phases in your life, like some people might have that same exact idea of I want to help somebody do this, but they want to work only with moms.
Yeah.
Or maybe some people want to work in a particular industry or something like that. So you start to, at the very, very, very like aerial level, decide the kind of problem that you want to solve and the kind of person that you think that you might want to work with. And it could be based, you know, if you're like a health and wellness person and you love the yoga lifestyle and you figure out that you want to help light workers increase their business, that's a very like different thing than maybe helping the mompreneur or helping a financial expert. Like those are three things that actually the content could be very similar, but the way that you're going to create the programs, the language you're going to use, all of that's going to be very different. So if you can just kind of decide on the problem that you want to solve and who you want to solve, that's step number one. Step number two is then putting together a survey that's going to ask that particular person about their problem. So if you think about like the spa person, their problems with starting a business, for example, might be very different than a financial institution, than a mompreneur. And you can ask them the questions of like, if you could change one thing about blank, whatever that problem is, or even like if somebody's a health coach and they're trying to make or help somebody lose 100 pounds or more, think about how that 100 pounds or more is a very different problem than 5 pounds of Christmas weight, right? So the question at that point would be, if you could change one thing about trying to lose 100 pounds, what would it be? Versus if you could change one thing about trying to lose 5 pounds, what would it be? Very, very, very different problems. So once you start to pinpoint what their exact problem is, through these surveys, these answers in the surveys, getting them to identify their dream and their exact problem that they're having an issue with, only at that point should you create a course that's just completely A to Z on helping them solve that one problem. Now, why isn't it all problems? Like why, like somebody who's a health coach who is like, I'm going to teach people how to be healthy. Like that doesn't work.
Well, and not only that, it's just kind of like you're reverse engineering, and on the front, the end, like the pre-marketing or the story side of it is that nobody identifies with that. Like everyone said, Mind Body Green can say that, just like you said. They've established a brand. They've gotten to the point where like, we help people to feel healthy. But
maybe with something, right? So like with smoothies or with, you know, it's like there's some sort of specific thing.
So you can have more balance in your life. So your gut gets better. So you what? So that's
and what is their competitive advantage? What do they do that's different than anybody else out there?
You think with Mind Body Green?
I don't know about mine. I don't know who that is.
Mind Body Green is like, it's an online platform that was created. I would say it was one of the first that really broke this different way of saying health. Just like we could say Ariane Huffington. Like when I look at her, like, I feel like, wow, she started to kind of make Huffington like a different place to go.
So what makes it different though?
So what makes it different is they have not only editors and people who write for them who are like a JJ Virgin and people who are Hyman and people that are known, trusted, but they also will take on submissions for articles that they feel really are in alignment with what it said.
So you could say that their difference is that they're a user-generated health platform where in a place where it's combined with really high-level people in the industry, which has created a unique environment of up-and-comers and of established people to create like sort of, I mean, like that's a very like defined differentiation than I'm just going to start a health blog.
Well, and I think when you're looking, just like when you said, you know, it's like take Nike, Pepsi, you know, any like, when you have an established brand because you did that work and you stay consistent, very consistent message, or Apple's a perfect example.
Yeah.
You know, like,
what all the companies that you're talking about, Coca-Cola, Nike, and like in potentially even this company, is, are you first to market? Because if you're first to market, you can be unstoppable. And you're totally right. Their differentiation isn't even as important as somebody who would be coming into the scene now, because if somebody was coming into the scene now to do that type of website, they would need to think of a spin that would be something totally different.
Right, which Arianna Huffington did.
Yeah, right.
Thrive. But I always say to coaches, similar to what you're saying, it's like, don't be general. Like, and if you are going to be general, it's just like what you said, like the survey part, I think is so huge, because most coaches, I think most entrepreneurs go in blind. They think about what was their own story. They think their story is going to be a marketable story, their soul story. And so they're just going to get clients.
Yeah, and it doesn't really happen that way. It really comes from creating a competitive advantage. And most people go for easier, faster, cheaper. And those things actually don't work in a crowded marketplace. Yeah. You have to have a twist on something. So like there was a woman I was talking to who was teaching presentation skills, leadership skills. And she's like, well, what would be my competitive advantage? And I said, well, why won't we put a twist on it? Like, think about a spiritual CEO versus a CEO that focuses on playfulness versus a sophisticated tech CEO that focuses on virtual reality. You have the same presentation skills that could be either presented in a spiritual way, in a playful and fun way that uses improv, or in a technological way, and it's the same content under a completely different lens.
100%.
And that is going to make them stick out in a market of 1 million people who are teaching the same, potentially like same types of leadership classes.
That's when, what I love, and that's when it goes back to brand. But what I'm saying even first is like really get clear, beta test, like know what your people want.
Yeah.
Have this proven product that you know sells.
Yes.
And from that product, being able to even break it down based on different buyer avatars.
Yeah.
Needs and keep even breaking it down.
Yeah. That even comes from that, all of that stuff even comes from a more advanced thing once you decide what the thing is that's going to sell, right? So we have to think about things that are, you know, great for the industry. Is it going to be accepted by the industry? Is it something that is relevant to the guru's like own personal interests? Like if I'm not a spiritual person, why am I teaching people how to be spiritual CEOs? You have to kind of do that sort of auditing thing. Or why am I teaching people to be healthy when I'm not healthy? Or why am I teaching people love when I can't find a boyfriend? Like these are like some alignment things to check in with.
I love that, because that's the internal questions that most people don't ask. They're like, oh, everyone loves clean eating. And it's like, but you know, what is really your story right now? And what are you in the depth of sugar addiction, but you're still a health coach? Share the problem and how you're going to solve that and take them on the journey.
Right, exactly. So it has to be related. Otherwise it's not authentic. And so we see a lot of people do things to make money that are not authentic, and then they fall flat on their face and they don't really know why. Yeah. So that's like sort of phase one, is surveying, seeing what feels right, seeing where your interests are, seeing the kinds of people you want to work with. You know, really focusing on things that you have had some success with is easier than taking people on the journey with you sometimes. You can do that. You can take people on the journey with you, but it can be even better if you've like by yourself gone and accomplished something awesome, and then you've taught what you've learned as a place of coming from a place of like leadership versus being in the struggle with them. It's really hard to teach people how to beat sugar addiction if you're in the middle of fighting your own sugar addiction, right? So that's phase number one. Phase number two is then you take those survey results and you put it together, what we call, you know, beta test. And the way that I teach beta testing is totally different than most people teach beta testing. I teach beta testing that you should beta test for free. And people challenge me on this all the time. Like, oh, nobody's going to, they're like, nobody's going to value it. Like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there is some truth to that. I think that pre-selling is unethical. Yeah. I think asking people to whip out their credit card, even if it's $25, there's two horrible things that happen from pre-selling. One, people don't know you, and their hesitation to whip out a credit card at the pre-selling level is going to be just as great as it would be if it's a higher level. And in addition to that, when it is a lower price, they actually associate the value of your course with that lower price. So if you're like, I'm going to charge them $25 or $95 for a $1,000 program, they're now going to associate the value of that course with $25 to $100 or $300 when it's it's really a $1,000 or $2,000 value. The second part of that is seeing if you can get 100 beta testers in for free. And you just put out an application page with all the things that you decided that you're going to put in the course from the surveys. And you start to ask people if they would be willing to come take this course. And you can say, basically, you don't refer to it as a free course, because if they see free, they suddenly don't think it's valuable. But you say, this is $1,000 or a $2,000 course with group coaching. I'm beta testing this. You have to apply. And if you get in, there's no charge.
I love that. I love that verbiage.
Yeah.
Just like so simple, so clear, so to the point.
Yes. Yeah. So you can find those testers via Facebook groups. You can find them via, people that that are in your industry. And the best part about this is, even if you have an email list, you can send out this free beta test to your email list, because the secret is you're going to sell them at the end of the beta test.
Yep.
So you take them through an entire journey. You start the course with one module of things being created. Like your, week 1, 5 different lessons where there is a clear, 10 to 15 minute video and activity per lesson. And at the end of that, you have a survey to have the beta testers give you feedback on the first module. That's all you need to launch to 100 testers. You don't go create the whole course. You just create the first module. And while your beta testers are going through the first module, then they are actually going through and giving you feedback on what you should do better. And you are creating the second module. And so you basically fail and pivot with your testers so that you're not guessing, you're not trying to think about what they need. In a Facebook group, through surveys, through office hours that you're conducting through group coaching, you're basically creating a student-centric course that is made for them. And if you show up and deliver $1,000 worth of value, by coaching them on video and taking them through the entire process, this doesn't mean that you can't have this program on autopilot at one point. But you better believe that you need feedback. You need 100 people, or it's probably going to be 50, because 50% will drop off, telling you how your program sucks, what's awesome about it, where they're experiencing transformation, that you say too many times in your video, that your audio sounds like you're standing in a hallway, that the background of your website is giving them a seizure. Like, this is the kind of stuff that you don't want a paid customer to give you the feedback on. Yeah. So you get to fail in a safe environment with beta testers. So what happens at the end of this is you've delivered so much value that you end up creating an offer for next steps with you, whether it be a second course, the second half of your first course, a VIP day, a workshop, a coaching session, like whatever that looks like. And so when I've taken my students through this, and we've had almost 1,000 people come through my program where I teach them how to do this, they end up having $10,000, $20,000, $40,000 launches to a list of 100 to 400 people. 0 people on their email list, 0 people, like 0 website, 0 brand presence. They just show up.
It's because it goes back to everything that you said. It's like, and I'm a huge person on free. I feel like, you have to build trust. You have to also see what works and what not works. But it's everything that you said, like going back and really saying, like, is this sellable? Is this what people want? Yeah. Is this the format that they want? Were the videos too long? Like, how am I delivering? Or, as I said, when I heard you on that summit and we were together, I was like, oh, I give too much. So it's overwhelming. Yeah. So most people can't accomplish it.
Yeah. Oh, when you assign reading an entire book, writing 5 pages, and doing some sort of exercise outside all in one lesson, people are like, I'm not doing any of this. Like, you should be assigning like a chapter, or you end up having to break down your process from A to Z in a way that's so simple a caveman could do it, like, not to quote Geico, but it's like, it's just like you want to make it so simple that it's fail proof. And the way that we actually describe it is like a Lego manual. So James Wedmore, my mentor, he actually uses the Lego manual theory for his own like hires, like when he gets like a assistant on, so that anybody can come in and fill out. And I was like, why aren't we doing that with our courses? And it wasn't until I sat down and looked at my own courses that had hour-long videos, and that was me.
I had an hour. Right. Yeah, it's too much because the interest, when you said that, and that's why I sat there and said, everyone is doing this between memberships
Mm-hmm.
courses, program, like everything. I thought of everything. And it's interesting because even in this year, I started saying to coaches again, like, what's the feedback you're getting? Because everyone's like, my clients are too busy. They can't do this. And I realized that the world has changed.
Yeah.
And so what I used to give in a big program, people can't even do it.
No,
It's
they can't.
so overwhelming because life is so overwhelming now, which it is.
It has to be bite-sized, and it has to give them a small win. So every single lesson is set up to give them a small win. You give them, like in my course, I'm like, okay, here's how you do a survey. You have a survey at the end of it. Okay, here you have your survey answers. Now you have an outline for your course. And every little 15-minute video is leading to one step closer. And they're like, wow, I've gotten more done in the first 5 days of this course than I have in the past 2 years because you made it doable. Getting them to watch an hour-long video and giving them an arbitrary assignment about theory, is not actually going to give them any transformation.
Yeah, because because everyone says, and look, this is why I always say, the stuff that nobody talks about when we are in the digital space or entrepreneurship, because I started as a health coach and transformed into kind of teaching business. Part of it is nobody talks about like, wow, I had this launch that completely just like flopped, or I realized as I went through this with people, and I even have killed courses, like going with the intention to go back and be like, I need to break down like one little book into handouts, just like you said, because it feels like, oh my God, how am I going to accomplish this when I'm already trying to build my business, nail this, get this? It just then adds another layer of massive overwhelm.
Well, that's part of the reason why shorter courses sell better. I always say create a course that's less than 30 days, create a course that's solving one problem, that there's a clear project finished at the end of it. So like my course launcher program, you have a course within 30 days to, 100 beta testers. It's super clear. You have failed the course if you don't have a course with 100 beta testers, and there's only 4 hours of video total and 30 days of 2 times a week coaching that gives them that result. And so what I discovered when I did this was I was having a really hard time with my branding course with people finishing because I was teaching them Photoshop and Illustrator. And this was before the time of Canva. And it wasn't until I added in a get it done version with Canva that people actually started completing the course.
Yeah,
so you kind of have to meet your students where they're at. We can suffer from expert brain. We can suffer from what I like to call helicopter parent syndrome, where we feel as if we have to transplant our own brain into their brain and teach them every single thing that we know, or they're going to fail.
That's it. You just 100%. I have not only myself, but clients who have done this, and they've even said, well, why are people, and you had talked about this as well that day that we were on that summit, that people then say, this is not what I expected, which is why I also don't believe in a pre-sale, because when you're doing a pre-sale, they don't know really what they're looking at yet. They haven't seen the interiors. They haven't seen a sneak peek. They haven't really heard, like, they're kind of buying on trust.
Right.
And sometimes that trust gets broken, or you think you're delivering something, but it ends up being different. And
well, with a free beta tester, you can basically tell them to F off if you don't like what you were doing.
Yeah.
There's no obligation. Like, you could be basically like, I hate teaching this topic. I've decided to switch this from XYZ thing to XYZ thing. You can stay on board if you want to your free tester. What are you going to do? I
love that you said that. So I guess my biggest question, because I think anyone else would be wanting to ask you this, because I'm like, I need to know. Is that if you have something that is like, there's a lot of content that you can give them, what you're saying is hold back, sister. Do not give that. Like, really pull that back, make a second tier upsell. Like, do not, like, they're not going to be able to bring it all in. And I do really also believe people's brains are like, when we talk, my brain just thinks in a mind map. Like, that's why I'm always like, oh, wait, I have 5 different questions. And it's not a smart or not smart thing. It's just how certain brains process.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it. If you're looking at a course with 100 steps in it, what is easier to look at? A course with 100 steps in it, or a mini course that solves one problem that has 5 lessons that they can get done within 48
2D
hours?
little downloadable worksheets that
Yeah.
they totally want.
So you can bundle all your courses to create the perfect complete system. But why not try to separate it out a little bit to make it a little bit more easily consumable? And then starting off with one thing, and think about in that survey, you're likely going to get the same answers over and over and over again about something. Like something that comes up a lot in the surveys that I do is like, if you could change one thing about growing your business, what would it be? And the number one answer is usually like either related to social media or getting sales. Like, I don't know anything about social media. I don't know how to get sales. And so if I see that as the number one answer coming up every time, and I create a solution of how to get your first sale on Instagram within the next 14 days, that's like one little mini program that I can what if I got you your first sale?
That's brilliant.
Days? You're going to now take that money and now be fully into spending it. And especially if I'm doing that for you for free. Like if I'm getting you your first sale and of course I'm beta testing, heck yeah, I'm going to be able to sell this later. But why not be able to get people their first sale, test your method, see if it works, see if you know enough about Instagram to
baby
do
step,
that.
like really baby step
Right.
people. And it's not that people, as I said, are not smart. It's just that they're trying to grasp this thing that maybe we have done either intuitively, innately, whatever it is.
Right.
That's the mistake that I know I've made. I know many people make, and then they have invested, as you said it in the beginning, a lot of money into a lot of unnecessary either platforms, Facebook ads, social media, website, designers, everything, to be left with, I didn't convert one person.
Well, they didn't, and they just are missing the number one thing, which is prove that your idea is sellable before you spend any money on it. Don't buy a fancy computer. Don't do anything until you can just prove that the idea works. Because we've seen people Derek Halpern was on a really horrible WordPress template and did the first multi-million dollars of his business.
And remember his videos? I still love his videos.
Yeah, and he just showed up. It was like white background, he put on a nice shirt and he showed up, but it was the content that was selling people. It was not his branding.
And his authenticity. Because you know it. Derek Halpern to this day is still one of, I even went to New York because I was like, Selena Sue had him as a speaker, and I was like, I literally and I said to him, I was like, dude, I have admired you forever because you've just always kept it real. It always, and I think even in the last email that he sent everyone, he was like, I just wanted to create content.
Yeah.
I really just wanted.
Yeah. But he's such a great example of that. He didn't even go in and start spending money on branding until way later. And I honestly don't think, and I'm friends with him, and I was supposed to do the Social Triggers rebrand originally, and he was really fun to work with. He was but we ended up, I ended up not doing it officially, but I definitely helped with some of the legwork before he hired the agency to do it. I don't necessarily think that it led to a lot more sales for him. I'm not sure about that exactly, but I can tell you that he was super successful because of the content that people wanted out in spite of cool graphics and all the things. And so it's just good to know that really your focus should be on what people want, not on looking cool.
And it's interesting because I've been saying this year, and I saw this actually in, I ungrouped myself. I did a colonic on Facebook. I was like, no, not actually, although I do those. But I was like, I'm leaving groups I've been added to. I'm leaving groups that I'm lessening the noise. And the few that I stayed in, everyone was like, it is a year of not keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
We went through that. We went through where it was bigger, better sales. It's you know what? I saw that, and I saw a lot of 7-figure entrepreneurs crash their online business because they were like, it's too much. I'm fried. I'm not spending time with myself, my family, anything else. And I'm not even delivering what people want because I'm so taking care of this. And I said that I was like, this year, cutting everything. Like,
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, you get 80% of your sales from the 20% things that you do anyway. So you might as well cut out the 80% that's just like filling up your time. And, like getting into some of the mindset stuff and like what really can help, get you focused and on the straight and narrow about what to do is that like realizing that, that really like to become wealthy and successful, aside from all the strategy that we just talked about, which is like finding the one thing, it's also about mastering the mindset that a successful person has. And some of that can come from asking yourself, is this, is this a CEO activity, or is this an activity I should be pushing off? How many times during the day are you spending doing things like doing a course you have no business doing, when you could actually take that course and give it to your assistant, have them do it for you, and then be able to really multiply yourself, which is where things happen. And some of this comes from, we have the desire to think like, oh, well, I can do it faster or better than other people, which can be true to a certain degree. But then also it's like, how can you understand kind of like what the process is and then put it off so that you can really start to expand and grow beyond what you're currently doing? And then just fill your days filled with the stuff that you enjoy doing. And then you pretty much, then every day doesn't feel heavy. You get way more stuff done. It's an amazing thing when you take a project that you would normally do, like something super tedious, like adding people to a Facebook group or like, doing something, and you give it to somebody who is, a $5-6 an hour Filipino assistant, and they just love this, and they like go above and beyond the expectations of something you would ever want to do. Like I had an assistant of mine create all the PDFs for the most recent course I designed, or I did, which is on Facebook ads and Instagram ads. And I had her do the PDFs, and I was like, I'm a designer. I'm pretty like particular about how things look. And I assigned her a project, and she came back with designs that were far better than I could do, not because the actual design skills were better, but because she had the energy.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I love that you said that, because when I think about, and you and I were talking before we started recording, like the mindset of like the 5-figure to the 6-figure to the multiple to the 7 to the multiple, like it really is mastering, and just like you said, like having that talk with self and being like, is this fueling me, or is this just robbing me blind of the energy that I need to actually think, be a think tank, get out there, and then like assign the things that I shouldn't be doing so I can show up and understand those surveys and ask questions and be doing lives and really hear from people like, what's your struggle?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because you can, there is such thing as like our energy. Well, I don't believe in like thinking of time is a finite thing. Like if you have the relationship with time that you have as much time to do whatever you need, like that's a really good thing. There is things that can suck up your energy that can make you less present. And you're totally right. Like I realized that like, you kind of like paying attention and doing an audit of your experience with time and with energy and how you can show up. And yeah, you might be awesome at designing a PDF, but is that energy better spent there or connecting with somebody on a Facebook Live that's actually going to bring you in business? And that's when you start to you get to start auditing that. And you know what? Keep in mind here, you guys, I'm 4 years into business, multiple 6-figure business every year. Just hired my first admin in the 4th year of business. Yeah. So I'm the queen of DIY. Like I love auditing, editing video and doing all the things. But what I started to realize is when I started hiring people on Upwork to do the editing of the videos actually ended up better edited. They could add in like zoom in and like pointing.
Because it's exactly what you said. And I love this part because, and you have to send me the book that you had suggested because I didn't even write it down that day. I really feel it comes down to energy. Yeah. I feel the same thing. Time and me have an freaking believable relationship.
Oh, I love that.
If I'm doing what I love, I don't feel like it's work. My husband's like, step away from the computer. I'm like, just like an hour more. I'm almost done this thought.
Yeah.
But it's the other stuff that it's just like, if you're looking at your calendar, you feel drained.
Yeah.
It's time to like, just like you said, find somebody. But it's also, I think that goes back to, I didn't hire someone until 3.5 years into my business.
Yep, same thing.
And one is that I wanted to know the systems. Two is that I wanted to be empowered in me because that is part of a successful
Sure.
Like,
I mean, I say do it once, then firm it out. The problem that I ran into, and maybe you ran into too, is that we can get really into instant gratification of, I want this now. I can make this now.
what?
Right?
Oh my God. I'm like, are you my twin? Because I'm like, damn it, never mind. I'm going to do it because I could literally get it done. Like, but I've had to actually, that was a thing that I had to let go of this year.
Yeah.
Like, full transparency. I always talk because this is the stuff nobody talks about.
Yeah.
I had to, from like Thanksgiving to, I mean, I usually start analyzing self like October. So that I'm clear in November and then I make massive changes. And I had to say, you know what? You have to let go of everything needs to be right now. Like,
right.
You have to let go or you will stay in a chaotic circle and not up level.
Yeah, I mean, well, and so that actually brings us to the book I was reading today called The Secret Mind of a Millionaire, I think is the book I'm reading, or something like that. What is it? Yeah, The Secret of a Millionaire Mind, by, what is it? T. Harv Eker. He basically said that when it comes to analyzing people who stay in the same financial state versus people who are super wealthy, there's a couple different things that come up. One of them is that most of the time our thermometer for things is like people will think, I just want to make thousands of dollars instead of millions, and they're thinking of it in the thousands of dollar immediate instant gratification. I want to make $1,000 now, not I'm going to be doing the things that are going to make me $1 million in 6 months or a year from now. That total immediate gratification is what keeps people jumping from thing to thing versus thinking of the bigger picture, which is getting people in line. Now, this is, of course, always an easier thing for me to tell other people to do as I'm trying to implement it in my own business. But I will tell you this. I have a really good, awesome guy friend who he started doing online business and he got into the cosmetics industry doing eyelashes, like magnetic eyelashes. And when he first started his business, he was like, oh, I'm going to learn PHP and programming. And so if you can imagine, like, he just doesn't even know, like, that you just can't.
Whenever I hear someone like my tech people say PHP, I'm like, I don't know. I want to know how it relates. So when there's a problem, when somebody's sick, I can call somebody, but I don't want to study it.
Yeah. No, this is one of those things where when he said this, I just died laughing because me being a multimedia design person, like the fact that you even tried to learn that shows such a great representation of what certain people try to do that they have no business doing. And he tried to learn it for like 2 weeks and he was trying to get this project done to get his website launched for this amazing, magnetic eyelash product that he has. And he couldn't do it. And so he finally hired somebody on Upwork and he went on a date and the whole project he got done within a half an hour. And it cost him like $35 or something. And he was just like, oh my God, like this is the best thing ever. So he decided, and I think this is so smart and I highly recommend, and this is how I really started getting into hiring people for my business, is that he decided to just start booking informational interviews with people that he had no desire to necessarily hire, but that he wanted to go in to just know what they would know. So he would book an informational interview with the potential of hiring them. And in the interview, he would completely ask them a million questions about what they know, gathering information. And if he hit it off with somebody, if they gave him knowledge that he didn't know that he needed, and it really struck, like, and he put something into play and it worked or whatever, he started hiring and he ended up getting, I can't even believe this. He ended up hiring over the year 14 people out of 100 interviews. He went from 0 to $1 million his first year. His company just got valued at $35 million. And he was my best friend who started at 0 with me basically telling him to do this Upwork thing before I had even done it. And now he was like, now Jenna, it's your turn to go get like.
I love Upwork. I tell people all the time, like, especially in the beginning. And we'll close it out soon because I have taken enough of your day and hostage. I'm like, wait, can I fly out and meet her as my best friend? She's like,
we can be besties.
That's how awesome. I mean, seriously, like the value that you have brought to this. I mean, not only can I tell you're passionate, but like you've done it. That's what, and I know most people don't come to the table with a crap load of money, or they're switching jobs and they're just so passionate, and that list doesn't. So you have to know how to do it smart. And Upwork and, you know, sitting there and hiring people and taking a chance and doing interviews. I do interviews on Upwork all the time because I'm like, you know what? It's worth finding a nugget. You know, like it's worth finding somebody that you would be like, oh my God, you know.
Well, give them a test project and get some stuff off your to-do list. If it doesn't work out, you were thinking about doing it anyway. So might as well see if somebody else shows up. When I did this with my current admin, I was blown away at the things.
Oh my God.
She like,
I'm gonna literally put out in the world, like, I need a course virtual assistant. You're gonna
Yeah. I mean, and you can train somebody to do it. I mean, it's really about a matter of like, I gave her one little test project and it was like, she set up a Facebook profile to be my admin in Facebook groups and had taken a screenshot, had put it up on the banner, had created this thing that named herself Jean You Can Brand, and then totally did all this without me even asking. I give her one thing, and there was another instance where previously I had trained a designer on how to do content. She was a student of mine, and it cost me $800 to get all this content developed for a Facebook group. I was sitting on an airplane, you know, a year later, mapping out all the content for this launch, gave it to my assistant, and she got all of it done within 24 hours, and it cost me $30. And I'm like, you guys, this is the 4-hour work week in a nutshell, like hired cheap.
Like, I know. Look, everything that you're saying, which is why I also am like, this is so meant to be, is everything I said to my husband. I was like, you know, being an entrepreneur for longevity isn't necessarily about like continuing to raise. It's like learning how to cut your costs.
Yes.
Be smart, put out a great goddamn product. And when you feel like you got to dip, meaning like you feel like you're in the fail zone, which you got to own that. That is the greatest gift. The greatest course is when you can enter the fail zone and you're like, I got to pivot. I got to ask people again. I got to really like, you know, and so everything that you just talked about, start to finish. I mean, even though we did this song, I'm like, guys, chunk this down into 10 minutes, you know, like apply, chunk it down, come back, apply, write a little note. So I just want to thank you so much. And tell everyone where they can find you. I downloaded your goodie the other day and I was like, damn, resources out the wazoo. I was like, where was this back in the day for me?
Well, thank you. So what you're going to want to do is go to youcanbrand.com. It's youcanbrand.com. I have tons of freebies, everything from how to like download an A to Z roadmap for your business to anything with getting started on how to create your first online course to like learning graphic design stuff. I have mini programs. Like I basically turned my website into a playground for people who need to get started. And that's, you know, it builds the reputation. I've been having Jean, my assistant now, go through the surveys of why people buy and actually map out what freebies they participated in, how long they took from the time that they got on the list until they purchased. And then I produce all that content to share with my audience and with my students as well. So it's like amazing when you look at numbers and you can start to make some strategic decisions. But I hope that this call today helped you discover a little more things about maybe some things that you might be doing that are not working well, and how actually like shifting into working with the kinds of people that you want, asking them what they need, delivering value first before you spend any more money, and really starting to analyze your customer journey if you are working with customers and how you can make that better, how you can make your business leaner. And it was so fun. Thank you, Rachel, for having me. It was really awesome.
Guys, if you don't frickin', I mean, I'm going to rewatch this and be like, okay, no, it's like, you know what I mean? But if you did not get an ounce of, seriously, and I say this always, like, just quit. Don't spend any more money. Like, just, but like, if you want to dig into the behind the scenes of what you see it takes, like, follow Jenna, do the work, go through this, micro bite size it. So the wins when you do it. And I just want to thank you guys so much. Stay tuned for the next podcast. And Jenna, OMG.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye, guys. It was great having you.
Bye, guys.